Today we have a very important topic, a truly important topic. We're going to talk about a feeling, an emotion, namely the feeling of guilt. We often underestimate the impact this feeling has on our lives, on our bodies, and on our health. And so many people end up developing serious illnesses because of this feeling, simply because they don't understand what it is, how it works, where it comes from, or why this feeling even arises. Many people can't recover because they're stuck in a vicious circle, just going around in circles. And for many people, this emotion is repressed. They're simply unhappy, unable to live fully, lacking love, relationships, or even financial opportunities, all simply because they've activated this self-destructive program within themselves. So that's our topic for today. Give a thumbs up if you're interested in the topic of guilt, if it's relevant to you at all. Write in the chat, Vadym, it's relevant, awesome, let's break it all down and put everything on the shelves. Or write, Vadym, what guilt? I accept and love myself, really. Well, everything's fine with me. And it's not for nothing that I decided. Remember, I recently did a live stream for you where I wanted to immediately talk about the emotions that lead us to psychosomatics, to illnesses. And I realized that we wouldn't be able to fit everything into one stream. Last time we discussed fear together. It's very important, very critical, and fear will be present almost always. Today we'll continue with the feeling of guilt, and in the next streams we'll touch on other emotions. Super. Chuck Norris is giving me a thumbs up, so everything's good. So the feeling of guilt. What can we observe in our bodies? Let's talk about the physical side of things. These are constant inflammatory processes that don't go away, don't disappear in any way. Something hurts, there's inflammation, and so on. Second, we see relapses. When a person seems to have recovered but then relapses again, or there's no progress at all. They try, they do things, but nothing works out for them. Everything stays the same, and so does the shame. Next, when there are pains of unknown origin. Why do they occur? Where do they come from? In other words, the person doesn't understand. All of this is the feeling of guilt. The entire musculoskeletal system. That's our muscles, our bones, our ligaments. That's where we're supposed to move, to feel strong and resilient. But we can't do something, we're incapable. We start to devalue ourselves because of it. And all of this also causes us to feel guilty. So the feeling of guilt is a kind of puzzle, a kind of mechanism through which we can actually go deeper and find the very conflict itself. Now I'll explain with examples to make it clearer. So first, our body suffers. Second, our life suffers. This is no longer about the body, but about our psyche when a person is eaten up by guilt over something. Let's look at some examples right away. For example, a girl, a woman, lost her husband. A tragedy happened. And at that moment, she forbade herself to feel joy, forbade herself to live. It's already been about 10 years. She still doesn't have a relationship. And to this day, she lives in this state thinking, I have no right to live. I'm not capable. I shouldn't. I blame myself for this. That's the first example. There's been a lot of suffering here. By the way, this is where the feeling of guilt comes in. When a person couldn't do something, didn't manage something, didn't provide better medicine, didn't find a better clinic, and this feeling of guilt that I couldn't do it, it starts to eat away at the person from the inside. You can't go back and change something, redo what you couldn't do. But it stays inside you. And it's a vicious circle. And day after day, you keep triggering yourself. Who here has ever felt like they wanted to change something, go back to the past and fix it? Or as often happens in practice, I ruined our relationship. It all happened because of me. I'm the bad one. But why are you the one who's bad? But someone instilled this belief in the person. Maybe it was an ex-husband, maybe parents, maybe the people around them. Maybe this state just piled up on top of already low self-esteem, and the person blames themselves. The person eats themselves up inside. They can't relax. This feeling of guilt weighs on them inside. It's all me. I ruined it. I broke it. The whole big problem is because of me. It would be better if I didn't exist. This is the kind of self-destructive program at work. Next, I'd like to touch on the topic of childhood illnesses. And here the context is that the mother is suffering, and children get sick because of a sense of guilt. What exactly? I'm a bad mother. I couldn't give my child the very best. The best school, the best education of some kind. And as a rule, the child does not appreciate it yet. He starts to devalue somehow. Yes, his parents' behavior is somehow not quite, let's say, diligent. And you fall even deeper into this feeling of guilt. I'm bad. That's how I raised him. I couldn't give it. I couldn't do it. And this daily self-examination takes away your sense of calm and security. And it takes away this peace of mind. The calm and security of your child. That's why, moms, the first question you need to answer is this. Do I consider myself a bad mom? Just say it out loud. I am a bad mom. If your body tenses up and you're even afraid to say these words out loud, then congratulations, you consider yourself a bad mom. The test is positive when you can easily say, I am a bad mom. I am the worst mom in the world. And that will sound more like the truth. Why? Well, this kind of self-criticism is actually more about being reasonable, because we understand perfectly well that there are things we might not be able to handle. We might not do something. And yes, on the one hand, we might not give something to our child, but on the other hand, yes, we are human. And our child chose us. But if these words really paralyzed me inside, what does that mean? First, I had a bad childhood. Either I wasn't given love or there was some kind of mess. And now I'm trying to protect my child so that it doesn't happen to them again. And I'm not succeeding at all. Why? Because it's not about the child, it's about me. And the more I fail, the more I blame myself, and the more I do, the more stress there is inside the family. The second point, when there were some issues with the partner, the husband left, the husband abandoned us. Now I have to interact with the child. I'm a bad mother. Now my child is growing up without a father. That's this feeling of guilt. I carry it. The woman had problems with sleep. There could be swelling, yes. Inside the body, everything is trying to hold on to this stress. And of course, the child manifests this illness essentially to show that it's necessary to separate, to work through your feelings, and to move on. That's if we're talking about cases like this with a mother and child, yes. And today, it's very important for us to understand that the feeling of guilt can live in the body. Just as I said, it can destroy your life, take away your peace, safety, love, and happiness. Second, guilt is only the tip of the iceberg, and underneath it lies a program. What do you blame yourself for? Why do you blame yourself? What is actually at the root of it? And this is a very deep topic because most people I blame myself. I'm guilty. I'm bad, yes. The body suffers, a certain state is triggered. This is that feeling of guilt, and in fact it reacts. And the next thing to understand is that guilt actually is a good thing. All emotions, all feelings are necessary for us to live better. You shouldn't be afraid of your feelings. You shouldn't run away from your feelings. You need to understand your feelings and work through them. Let's lay everything out clearly. So, the feeling of guilt. Why do we need it? Guilt is, let's say, a kind of barometer that helps us understand what to do and what not to do. We don't live in the forest. We have certain social boundaries. There are certain processes. We know that we shouldn't walk around naked in the street. You know that, right? Or maybe you don't, for example. Other things like that. And so if I do something wrong, I feel guilty because some of my settings, my rules have been violated. Or for example, I broke someone's mug or cup. Or I did something, acted inappropriately somehow. I feel guilty at that moment. That's a good thing. Because there are certain boundaries. I went outside. You're not supposed to be naked in public. Damn, I didn't know. In my city, it's actually allowed. Please forgive me, okay? I won't do it again. That was awkward. Honestly, that's it. You won't see me naked anymore. Let's give Vadym a point for his sense of humor. Or I broke someone's mug. Damn, your favorite one. I don't want that. Let's go pick out a new one together. I'll make it up to you. Or something just went wrong, right? I messed up, lost my temper with the kid, for example, right? Or maybe you had a fight in the family. You sit down. Oh, honey. Oh, kid, I'm sorry. Work was overwhelming today. Honestly, that's the truth. I wasn't yelling at you, I was yelling at myself. That's it, forgive me. I love you. I appreciate you. Let's all go out together this weekend. We'll take a walk in the park together. I don't know. We'll do something together there. Like a picnic, right? That's it. I promise to control my moods in the future. So if I mess up or do something wrong, yes, I need to make up for it somehow. That's reasonable. We deal with this all the time. And if during the day you catch yourself feeling guilty, you need to figure out what the source is and what settings have gone off track. In other words, what exactly did I violate? What did I do wrong? What specific set of rules are there? Yes, hypothetically speaking. Which ones did I break and need to apologize for? And not do that again in the future. So we need the feeling of guilt in order to grow, to mature, so that this really doesn't happen to us anymore. But there's a small nuance. What kind of guilt are we talking about? Neurotic. What does neurotic guilt mean? It's when I can't make up for it. So I did something. And it seems to me that I'm to blame for it. It's all because of me. I'm a bad person, but I can't make up for it. For example, if someone is gone, or it's just a breakup, and it seems to me that it's my fault, or a company fell apart, or something happened. It's my fault. I can't go back. Redo everything. Or for example, someone tells me, "You ruined my life." I can't make up for that, because I'm not responsible for another person's feelings. I can't make someone happy, or force them to look at certain things. That is, the feeling of guilt should turn into some kind of action that makes me better. If I can't do anything, then it's a neurotic feeling of guilt. What does imposed mean? It was instilled in me somewhere along the way. What's wrong with me? Something's definitely not right. For example, as a child, my parents scolded me, saying I was, for instance, silly. I'm stupid. Or for example, that it's like this. People don't walk like that. People don't dress like that. Whatever. For some kind of behavior of mine. And now I go somewhere. And it seems to me that now everyone thinks I'm stupid. That's when this feeling of guilt comes up in me. But wait. Here, I need to figure out why I think this way. Is it really true? Or is this just a trail lingering from the past, you see? Yes. And then you need to say no. Wait, I can dress however I want now. Go out into the world the way I want. That is, in the general rules of humanity, there's nothing wrong with this. For my parents, yes, maybe in their worldview. At that time in their lives, yes, they were insecure. There was something else going on with them. Now I'm moving past that. And with this kind of analysis, we move from a negative feeling of guilt to a positive feeling of guilt. Plus, we mark what is clear and minus what is still unclear. Give me some emotions. Or, as it sometimes happens, a more complex construct. I blame myself for not being able to create the perfect family. Write down your feeling of guilt. I want to analyze it with you. Let's do it. Who has what kind of guilt? Let's get involved. Now we'll analyze things a bit logically. Let's talk. And now we'll do a detailed practice together so you can see what feeling of guilt is stuck in your body. Yes, here's a young woman. I blame myself for not creating the perfect family. But why do you need a perfect family? I needed a perfect family because I didn't want things to be like they were with my parents. But that's not really your choice. That's just running away. Yes, so I don't want it to repeat so you don't actually need a perfect family. You just need a family that's not like your parents. And when a person realizes that oh, exactly. Well, if you don't get to the root of it, you start blaming yourself for things that have nothing to do with the actual issue. That I wasn't a very good mom. There you go, Vera. Classic case, right? Veroshka. What kind of criteria is that? A good mom or a bad mom? In what context? And why do I need to be a good mom? For whom, I have to ask, do I really need to be a good mom? And for whom, in the end, am I simply not a good mom? And in fact, we often need to learn to ask ourselves this question. Who do we really want to be good for? For whom do we want to do what we do? Yes, for example, Tatiana, an acquaintance with a sick child, she blames herself and her daughter blames her. Yes, you see, this is a very common issue. When something is wrong with the child is sick, and immediately the parent takes on a sense of guilt. And I did something wrong, but in this case, it doesn't depend on you. And in practice, I see that when a parent is actually at fault, they don't feel guilty. They think it's normal. What's the problem? I raised you the way I thought was right, didn't I? But actually, when the parent isn't at fault, that's when they just drown in this feeling of guilt. Yes, Olechka. But why is it that the feeling of guilt is so often considered to be just the tip of the iceberg, and what might we truly discover if we look a little deeper into it? Why do I blame myself? What's really there underneath? What need is unfulfilled if you look just a little deeper? Did I not give enough love to my older brother? Is that it? Now, when I look back, it seems to me that I didn't give enough. But now I understand that. But at that time, I gave him as much love as I could. I didn't withhold it on purpose or hide it, I was just occupied with something else. This is a very important criterion. Let's break it down once again. We start to feel guilty because some basic need has been affected. That's why, essentially, we fall into a certain fear. Something might happen, right? Next, when it comes to guilt, we start to analyze what it's connected to, where this feeling comes from, this state. And it seems to us as if we didn't do something, as if we failed at something. The problem is within us, so we need to pause and take a look. But is it really so, or did someone else impose this on us, or are we mistakenly assuming it? For example, right? Once again, I gave as much love as I had. If I had more, I would have given more, but there just wasn't any more. My whole body hurts. My whole body hurts. So what feeling is causing this pain in the body? If I could name this feeling, what would it be? Yes, the boss doesn't trust me. Right? The boss doesn't trust me. Does he actually say that to your face? Or is it your internal feeling that he doesn't trust you? That's a big difference. For example, I couldn't say important words when parting with someone. My mother didn't allow it. Look, I couldn't say those important words. Is that person still alive or not? If he is, what options or ways are there? I didn't say it back then because my mother forbade me. Yes, back then I couldn't do it because my mother's authority was greater. But now I need to say these words to free myself. The simplest thing we can do is to use the empty chair technique in practice and say it out loud. Say it to the person. Go and feel it. Imagine the image or a photo of that person and say it to them. You can take it even more seriously. Write them an SMS. The world won't fall apart because of it. But inside you'll feel much calmer. But you can simply do the practice. I blame myself for the fact that my daughter uses drugs. Natalia, thank you for writing this. When you say it out loud, you're actually already breaking the isolation. But I blame myself for something I can't influence. If I had been injecting my child with drugs since childhood and then, well, of course they would become addicted and that's how it would turn out. That's one story. But most likely, that wasn't the case. Most likely something else happened. Right? And despite the fact that this is your child, it's their soul, their own soul, they have their own experience, their own path, some things we can do and some things we can't. And we all know plenty of stories where parents do everything for their children. They give them everything. But the children still end up taking a different path. That's why there are things we simply can't influence. So you need to understand that first, you've already done everything you could. And second, you need to outline the steps you can take now. What can I do right now? For example, today I had an interesting session with a young woman. So the child is really acting out, misbehaving, and she just got out of a relationship she was in. And now essentially her child is highlighting for her that she needs to separate and move on to a new relationship to basically focus on her own life. We mistakenly believe that if we start focusing on our own lives now, the situation will get even worse. On the contrary, go back, return to your own life. No, but you say my boss doesn't trust me. Again, does he actually say to you, you are my employee, I don't trust you? Is that clear? That's why I would pay everyone a higher salary, but you less. Is that what he says? If he says that, then you ask, what can I do to regain your trust? It's very simple. He gives you instructions and you follow them, right? How much does that align with your own, let's say, attitudes and beliefs? If no one is telling you this directly, then it's just your imagination. You're falling into a child-parent relationship dynamic. In other words, your boss is a significant figure for you and you're simply projecting onto him. Basically, it's an unresolved issue with your mom or dad, you see? If a son is still wetting the bed at 20, we look at the mother's need for control, her fear of letting go of control, her fear of releasing tension. Because this is a problem with sphincter control and tension. But here you need to work with both the mother and the child because the child is already grown up, right? So Yulia writes, I wish I could go back to the past and not be a doormat in relationships. I would have learned to use my hands, learned to drive, taken up dancing, given myself what my soul wants, and not worn the mask of a good girl. And now it feels like it's too late. Yes, Yulia, that's brilliant. That's exactly the trap. You live in the past and have no present. So basically, I screwed up my life back then and keep doing it every single day. I messed up then, and I'm still messing up now. So maybe it's time to break out of this cycle? How? You need to actually feel the emotion. It's simple, really. In my training programs, I offer specific practices and exercises where you enter a trance and fully experience the emotion. But what can you do on your own in the simplest way? Just imagine, yes, past events and relive them. But you need to understand, don't fool yourself into thinking, I would have done something differently there. You didn't do anything differently because there were reasons for that. Maybe issues with self-esteem kept you from doing it. Maybe there were no examples to follow or something else. So in general, plan number 1 is to go back to the past and fully experience the feeling. In other words, do what you want to do. Step number 2, here and now, admit to yourself what you really want. Do it. Go take driving lessons, I don't know. Start flying a plane, do something even cooler, yes. Stop being a good girl. Start wearing makeup, dress nicely, go to a stretching class, take singing lessons. Do it now. In other words, you're lacking a certain experience and you need to get it now to build it into your psyche. Is that clear? There's no such instruction, things just changed collectively. You need to come and ask, come on, I want to get involved. I want us to have a team. What should I do, right? So, Olechka is writing, I'm actually not a very good person. I wasn't a good wife or mother. Olechka, it's good that you wrote that. I think there are many people here who haven't written about this feeling. When we say I'm a bad person, it's because someone considered us bad. Look, see, you weren't a good wife. Who told you that? Did your husband tell you that? Or was it your husband's parents? Or who told you that? A person will never think badly of themselves on their own. So someone brought this feeling into your life. Or maybe you decided that yourself, but the ground for thinking you were bad was already there. That can't be the case. So what should you say, Olechka? I now understand that I was wrong to think that I am a bad person. Deep down, I know I am a good person. I am a good woman, a good person who can sometimes on occasion act badly. Right? Maybe I didn't please my man there, and so he decided that I was bad. But only because I valued myself. And I acted in alignment with myself. So yes, maybe for someone I am bad, but for myself I am good. And the same goes for being a mom. If your child ever told you, though it's unlikely, that you are a bad mom, that's not a reasonable thing to say. When children say things like that, it doesn't mean you should take their words literally. It means the child is lacking attention. When your child says, Mom, you're bad, it means, Mom, I'm not getting enough attention from you. Stop working or doing some nonsense. Pay attention to me, right? So I find that I blame myself for being sick all the time. And as I have said before, this feeling of guilt should absolutely be turned into productive action. So you blame yourself, in other words, you are sick. Maybe that's a hypothesis. Because you constantly blame and devalue yourself. You blame and devalue yourself. So what should you do? Stop! There are reasons for my illnesses. Vadym says it's all psychosomatic. So do I need to attend his live streams, do his practices, right? To dive in and work through my feelings? And then I'll stop getting sick. I'll work through it. What unresolved events are causing my body to react? That's the action right there. Now my mind is already calmer. Besides that, I did one thing, then another, then a third. I don't know, maybe I'll start working out, maybe I'll start taking vitamins, improve my diet, start sleeping properly. Or, just using my phone and so on. There have to be actions. And then you need to follow through with them. But when I'm sick, I don't do anything. I blame. It's like a vortex inside that just eats away at you, right? Antonina, go ahead. And even more so, I don't do what I love. So if I'm not doing what I love, that's also a reason. And maybe the problem isn't the illness itself. Maybe I'm sick because I'm simply afraid. Afraid I won't manage, that I won't succeed, or something else. You need to admit it to yourself. Yes, I want to do this, but I'm afraid. I have these and those fears. They might be objective or they might not be. But when you admit this to yourself, it already becomes easier and calmer for you. There was a principled and demanding mother. She thought that was the best way to raise her son. So let it be that way. That means it's better this way. Olechka, that means it's better for your child this way. Once again, it's not necessary, we don't need to raise children in greenhouse conditions. But now you've realized this, now you are different. You should praise yourself for that. I blame myself for the fact that once a girl lost a child at 4 weeks and I think I didn't protect them. I'm not quite sure how you mean this. Are you a doctor or what? Maybe you could clarify so I can give advice. I blame myself for not keeping my promise to treat my child the way my mother treated me. Again, why should I treat my child the way my mother treated me? What kind of nonsense is that? You should treat your child exactly the way you treat them. You are a living person. All my emotions and feelings matter. I matter. If I yelled at my child, there's a reason for it. I need to sit down and figure out why. Maybe I'm not getting enough rest, I'm on edge, there are 1, 2, 3 things going on, and outline some possible solutions instead of blaming myself for it. And besides, your child might not even want you to treat them the way your mother treated you. Do you understand? You need to get yourself out of this sort of semi-hypnotic state. That's what destroys you. That's it? Irina writes, I blame myself because my child can't. We had this whole childhood topic, can't start a family. But what does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with you? He's the one who should be going on dates, giving gifts, being a man, or a woman, depending on who you have. A son, being a man, winning a woman's heart, being a knight, finally, but definitely not you. So this actually shows that you're not really blaming yourself for this. That's just a consequence. You're blaming yourself for something much deeper. What is it that you didn't give your child? Or did you have some kind of issues with your husband? You need to look into something deeper here. And this is just a trigger, just a consequence. And what does this tell you? The first thing is to forgive yourself for the past. Second, leave your child alone and start living your own life. The more you immerse yourself in your child's life, the more anxiety and stress the child experiences. Well, start treating your child like an adult if you want them to act like one. That's it. Svetlanichka writes, I feel guilty about the timing of my pregnancy. I consider myself a bad mother. Svetlanichka, my dear, you are not a bad mother. You are a good mother. Yes, sometimes there are difficult periods, difficult moments in life. Yes, the timing, pregnancy, these are things that are not under your control. Understand that. Well, sometimes a banana is just a banana, sometimes things just happen. You need to forgive yourself. Why? Because when you blame yourself, it feels like you did something wrong. But what if you didn't? What if it just had to happen this way? And there are a lot of circumstances like that in our lives. So what should you do? I have a grief technique where you allow yourself to fully experience these feelings. You let go of that pain, you release it. You need to let it out. That's the first step. Second, shift your focus to your life right now. What can I do? How can I compensate for this state? For example, I can start taking care of others. Isn't that right? Now we're also going to do a practice related to muscle tone. Here, Victoria writes that she felt guilty for wishing her father dead in a moment of deep hurt and anger. What do you need to understand here, Vaika, my dear? You're not the only one. In a moment of anger, we can wish such things for our father, our mother, or anyone at all. But thank God, as they say, your thoughts don't become reality. So it doesn't matter what you wished for someone, that's in the past. Here and now, you need to forgive. Forgive yourself for those words. Why? It's not like it came out of nowhere. You were hurt. When someone hurts us and we feel powerless, unable to respond, we start to get angry, start cursing, and so on. That's why, first and foremost, you need to forgive yourself and ask your parent for forgiveness. Close this chapter and move on. So Ekaterina and I are messaging each other today. I blame myself for not being able to conceive a child with my husband yet, that it's my fault. That there's something wrong with me. You see, Katya, that's an implanted idea. It's a suggestion. I couldn't conceive. So there must be something wrong with me. That's not right. But why couldn't I conceive? Maybe I don't feel safe next to my husband. Or maybe we have some unresolved issues, resentments, or grievances. What is the reason? Maybe I have some kind of family history. You're doing great, Katya, being in the year-long program. You're working through things now. That's why you need to approach the question differently. What is stopping me from getting pregnant? What do I need to do to get pregnant? I'm not some kind of manual, some kind of biorobot where you just fix something that's bad or not working. I'm a human being. My emotions and feelings are important. If pregnancy isn't happening, then there must be some reasons for it, right? What are the most common reasons we see? The first is simply chronic stress, when a person is constantly under stress. When we're under stress, we can't get pregnant. That is, the nervous system becomes depleted and the body switches to survival mode. Second, I don't feel safe around this man. This can be related to issues from past relationships or issues with my father. In other words, for some reason, I just don't feel safe with a man at all. And if I don't feel safe, how can I get pregnant? So this is basically a survival program. And third, these are my fears about childbirth and motherhood. What terrible thing could happen? What could go wrong? During childbirth, during motherhood, maybe there were past experiences with abortions or miscarriages. Maybe your mother or your ancestors went through something like this. It's worth looking into, right? Maybe your childhood was difficult. Now, I don't want my child to suffer the way I did. There are reasons for this, Katya. But you need to go through it with love for yourself. I love myself. I accept myself. I am a wonderful wife. I am an amazing woman. My husband is so lucky. And even if we never have children, we will live a long, happy, unforgettable life. That's how you need to break away from these attachments. And we make love because we love each other, not for the sake of having children. That's also very important. The body needs to relax. You're working on it now, good for you. Take a vacation, go somewhere, reset, relax. Why? Why is it like this in psychology, in psychosomatics, right? There's this thing, when we allow the worst possible outcome in our lives to happen, we feel a sense of release. For example, let me give you an example. A couple whom it really feels like I know personally. They have 5 children. And for a long time, he and his wife couldn't get pregnant. And he made up his mind about it. For some reason, we just can't. They really did have some objective medical reasons. And they decided, that's it, we'll adopt. We'll adopt a boy or a girl. And they went to sign the papers already at the orphanage. Everything was set. And then the wife gets pregnant. And she ended up getting pregnant 5 times, right? Because psychologically, they had already accepted this scenario. They had embraced this plan. That's it. There won't be any children. Relax. Just live your life. Adopt a child, a son or a daughter. The body relaxed. That's it. Pregnancy happened and the egg implanted. Do you understand what I'm saying? So Svetlana, look at what Svetlana writes. I blame myself for not being able to make my children study well at school, do their homework, or convince them of the importance of education. Because I myself have become a nobody, and now I understand the importance of education. My dear Svetlana, leave your children alone. In reality, you have issues with self-esteem, problems with yourself. Your children are highlighting your shadow side, the fact that you consider yourself a nobody. That is the biggest problem. And believe me, what's truly important in life is not grades, but communication skills. Teach your children how to communicate well with other people. They'll have everything in life, and as they say, any knowledge can be acquired later. So leave your children alone and start forgiving yourself. Look yourself straight in the eyes and forgive yourself. And of course, you are the mother of wonderful children. You simply can't be a nobody anymore. Are you kidding me? You are already amazing, wonderful, and unique for your children. Raising children is heroic, truly heroic. Is that clear? And here Murzilka writes, I blame myself for being a bad teacher if my students can't handle the assignments. All this tension goes into the body, hormonal imbalances, feeling guilty every day. But what should you do? Guilt should be turned into action. I'm struggling with how I can make it so that my students actually start handling their assignments properly. It makes me wonder, what does it really mean to be a bad teacher? I have to admit, I'm a teacher who feels I still lack some very important skills to succeed. Skills. Here, Oksanochka writes, I blame myself for not having enough energy for my family, for my anxiety and overprotectiveness even though I understand perfectly well that I can't do everything for everyone. And what you're writing, Oksanochka, is actually a classic case. We all want to spend time with our families, me included, all of us. And that's a normal desire, and it's the right one. But sometimes in life we burden ourselves with things that don't really make sense, things we think we need. That's why a good, honest analysis here is to sit down and ask yourself, do I really need all these things I've been doing? And why am I doing this? Or could I just not do it and nothing would really change? What do I ultimately want to achieve? And when you come to understand that, no, you don't need it, shift your focus to your family or just make yourself spend time with your family. How to experience your emotions and feelings is a certain complex process. Well, it's not that it's complicated, but there is a lot you need to understand. First of all, you need to know what emotions and feelings there are. You need to know why they arise. For example, how can you experience a feeling if you don't know what it's for? I've just told you that guilt is an ally, a companion. The feeling of guilt should be turned into action. If you can't turn it into action, then what does that mean? It means it's not yours, so you need to figure out who brought this worldview into your life and give it back to them. Here, Olechka is writing about fibroids. Multiple fibroids. Olechka is saying that you are currently in a state of powerlessness. I can't do something, create a family, get pregnant, build something, strengthen something, accomplish something. What is it that you can't do right now? You can't cope. Some main function of mine as a woman is unfulfilled. And since you can't overcome this psychologically, your body is helping you do it. Your inner powerlessness, what is it connected to for you? All right. Yes, also Svetlana, let's read this one as well. I feel guilty that I still don't have my own place, that I rent and can't resolve this issue. Why is it so important for you to have your own home? Is the answer simply, I just want to? No. This feeling comes from trauma. Millions of people rent, yes, housing, and it doesn't bother them at all. Like, they rent and rent. What's the difference? Living in your own place, rented, you're always moving, always something new. You have to do everything yourself and everyone has to get things done. Why? Maybe because in childhood there was no own home. Maybe there's something else there. Honestly, here you need to look in that direction. But because you're not focusing on the root, why is this important to me? And if you just keep saying no to this every day, you drive yourself into this funnel, yes, of guilt. Yes, Olechka, you need to forgive, and you shouldn't consider yourself a bad mom. Olechka, write about the myoma. What made you angry? What resonated with you? Say it out loud now, it will get easier. There you go, Irina learned a lot of interesting things. I'm glad. So, if you happen to notice the presence of conditions like furuncles, and yes, also carbuncles, these are generally considered to be what we call conflicts of attack. This means it feels as though someone is personally insulting me, or deliberately humiliating me, throwing dirt at my reputation, or fundamentally attacking my integrity. Yes, I feel like I want to defend myself. Some kind of dirty story like that. Who is putting pressure on you? What's going on with you there? Write it down. Here someone wrote, I blame myself for the fact that once a girl lost her baby at the 4th week of pregnancy. I think she wouldn't have kept it, as a young man and a medic myself. So you need to forgive yourself once again. You are just a young man and a medic. You're not God. You're not God. Yes, there are things we can't influence. That's just how it happened. There are some reasons for it, yes. There are things we don't control. That's why you need to forgive yourself and understand that at that moment you did everything you could. Here, Svetlana describes her home as a fortress, a protection, a place you can always return to. So what are you doing here? You are animating it. Yes, so your home, it's like a kind of fortress. Believe me, you might end up with crazy neighbors who play music at night. I'll talk to you later about your fortress. Your fortress can fall apart. You could have leaks there, cockroaches might show up. And next we will talk in greater detail about your personal fortress. So what this means is that in all reality, you just do not feel truly and completely at home in the specific place where you are right now. You don't feel safe where you are. And that's something you need to work on. Because it might happen that you come to your home, then drive yourself, I don't know, to stress. I'm saying you get into debt, buy it, and still won't be happy. This is a very important point. You should feel right now, even in a rented place, that this is your space, that you are safe there, that you feel good there. And yes, I'm working and saving up money for my own place. It's important to me, but not to the point where it makes me feel bad every day because of it. Do you understand? That's why this is a matter of trauma, not of choice. Here Oleshka writes, there was a lot of powerlessness. She couldn't find a job for a long time, suffered for a long time. Maybe that's where the memes come from. Look, here the context is really about the female role. Relationships, family, children, abortions, miscarriages, those kinds of moments. If there is a specific illness, it might be a family story. Feelings of guilt for not being able to build a relationship. Here it is again, right? And what am I doing to create a relationship? What needs to be done to create a relationship? Maria, write it down. What needs to be done to create a relationship? In order to create a relationship, you first need to actually enter into one, right? You need to listen to the person next to you. You need to listen to yourself when you're with that person and be honest with yourself. That's all there is to it. What about you? Are you building some kind of fortress out of bricks or something? But what you're writing sounds more like, I'm afraid to open up, I'm afraid to trust, I'm afraid, as they say, to listen to another person and let them listen to me. It sounds more like that. And I blame myself, like everyone else has kids, everyone else has husbands, everyone gets taken to Paris, but not me, for example. Well, you need to do something about that. Is that clear? Let's do a little exercise together, a small practice to help you feel more grounded. To begin, please get into a position that is both comfortable and deeply relaxed for you. Allow your body to settle. Now please take a slow, full, deep breath in, filling your lungs completely. And then gently and completely breathe all the way out. As you settle, I invite you to bring your attention to the physical sensations within your body. Let's start by noticing your head, then move your awareness down into your chest and then into your stomach. From there, become aware of both of your arms, and finally, bring your focus all the way down through your legs. Gently bring your awareness to the entire left side of your body, noticing all the subtle sensations that are present there from head to toe. Now, allow that same gentle awareness to shift completely over, encompassing the entire right side of your body, simply feeling the sense of balance between the two sides. Very good. Now please go ahead and take a slow, comfortable and deep breath all the way in, feeling your lungs expand fully. And as you gently exhale all the air out, allow your entire body to release and sink even more deeply into a state of complete and total relaxation. And now I invite you to gently and without any judgment, just allow yourself to fully connect with and feel the sensation of guilt. Bring your awareness inward and scan your physical body. Where exactly do you feel this emotion residing? Where in your body do you notice the accompanying discomfort? Just observe it. Please know that you are completely safe, and I want to reassure you that I am right here with you through this process. And as you hold that awareness, let's gently inquire. What in your life, what specific situations or thoughts triggers this feeling of guilt to arise? And what do you blame yourself for? Take a nice, long, deep breath in. And as you exhale, allow yourself to sink deeper, deeper, and deeper into relaxation. And another deep breath in, and as you exhale, let yourself fall into that very moment, that very instant when this feeling of guilt first appeared. Where does it come from in the past? If you imagine a thread connecting you today with a day in the past, where does this feeling of guilt originate? Take a nice, long, deep breath in. And as you slowly begin to exhale, allow yourself to visualize being back in that situation once again. And there, just breathe. As you prepare to exhale, I want you to gather up all of those emotions, all of those difficult feelings that you have been carrying around with you, and right there on the out breath, gently release them. It is so crucial that you don't continue to hold them deep inside your body or your mind. With a full and complete exhale, just let them go. On the next breath, exhale again and let them go a little more. One more time, a deep exhale and fully let them go. And just imagine for a moment that right there, right next to you, I suddenly appear. I look at you and I say, you know, you are absolutely okay. You are a truly wonderful person. And please remember that sometimes all sorts of unexpected things can and do happen in life. And please remember, you absolutely do not need to take on more responsibility or burdens than you should. In any and every situation, it is critically important that you make a conscious effort to love yourself and to truly value yourself. Say, dakobita. So right now, let's take 3 slow, deep breaths together. Breathe in deeply and then breathe out completely. Do this to consciously let go of this entire situation, so that it no longer has the power to remain in your shadow, affecting your peace. You can begin to vividly imagine in your mind's eye how a beautiful, radiant golden light slowly and gracefully begins to enter your body. As this light moves through you, it is gently washing away any tension, thoroughly cleansing every cell and completely releasing all the accumulated negativity that no longer serves you, allowing you to finally let go of this old story you've been holding on to. It's like a magical shower. And after it is all said and done, you truly feel a wonderful sense of confidence, maybe a genuine sense of joy, and perhaps even a renewed sense of hope. Hope for something truly new, something genuinely interesting, and something wonderfully bright that is waiting on the horizon. Hope for experiencing a fresh wave of new emotions, discovering profound new feelings deep within yourself, and seizing the incredible new opportunities that are sure to come your way. And perhaps there is the deeper hope to finally turn the next page of your life story, a chance to consciously decide to leave the past behind you, and to step forward with confidence into the vibrant present and the boundless future that awaits. If you're truly and completely ready to do this, you can actually begin the process physically. First, take a very long, slow, deep breath in, and then, as you gently exhale all the air out, I want you to clearly imagine yourself taking that one important step forward. As you do, feel a sense of love for your entire past and all it has taught you. Also, feel a deep love for the present moment and for being right here, right now. And finally, step forward with a welcoming love for the future and all the wonderful possibilities it holds. Very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. And now I invite you to take a moment to really feel what has changed within your body, right here in this present moment. Notice what feels new, what feels different, or perhaps more open. When you feel ready, you can gently open your eyes and allow your gaze to softly look around the space you're in. Penshopi says, then simply take a moment to write down what has changed for you and what feels different now. Yes, while I'm answering questions, you can write. Elena, you're absolutely right. Boils, yes, arguments with your husband. So you need to work through your feelings. You need to deal with this situation. Okay, so to be absolutely clear, Svetlana, yes, it is very important that you undertake the practice known as the trigger on the child, and in addition to that, it is also crucial to go through the entire separation process with your child. What has changed in your body right now? Write it down. A grey cloud was released from within. Victoria, well done. It was released from the throat, yes. Hope appeared. Great. My head started to hurt badly. From which emotion, right? It could be that an emotion is coming out, or maybe something is stuck that I'm not accepting. Yes, what kind of sabotage is there? Katya, you feel more space now, that's great. It got hot, yes? Yes, you feel dizzy because you started breathing and the emotion hasn't come out yet. If you find a man and he doesn't run away, it means there's a program inside. Why don't I want to get into a long-term relationship? I need extra income, but I'm afraid to quit my current job. That's normal. It's a classic situation. Being afraid is normal, but you have to do something. You need to find an option that works for you right now. You can work and study or do side jobs at the same time, yes. Polechka writes, it feels like everything is still lost. Of course, not everything is lost yet. As long as you're alive, you can bring value, you can bring light, you can help this world. Of course, of course, of course. Well done, friends. Be sure to share this broadcast with your family and loved ones. Let them listen, let their lives change too, and let them do the practice. I'm also preparing an incredibly cool webinar for you right now where I'll be talking about diseases, how in the context of family issues, diseases form in relation to our parents, and how diseases form in the context of our partners. You asked about relationships with partners. I'm gathering these strategies for you right now. I'll be sharing all these strategies, let's say, in the webinar where we'll prepare all this information. The webinar will last 2 to 3 hours and will include a detailed breakdown, thorough diagnostics, and in-depth work. I will be announcing this event soon, so make sure not to miss it tomorrow and be sure to sign up. The event will be paid, but the first 2,000 people will get access to it absolutely free, so don't miss your chance. Based on your request that you're sending me now, I understand that this is very, very relevant, and today we've also confirmed that together. Great, that's excellent. Alright friends, thank you all, have a wonderful day, and see you at the broadcasts and programs. If you have any questions, send me a private message. I'll be happy to answer, help, and guide you. Subtitles Editor A. Semkin.